There is a rift in the city.
Time is running out.
We must all come together.
When venturing into the sprawling world of Amazon's Carnival Row, be forewarned. Its greatest strength, its ambitious, sweeping scale, is also its biggest weakness. Meticulously realized by its creators, Carnival Row tries to accomplish a lot of different things with varying degrees of success. Just for starters, it's a period murder mystery reminiscent of The Alienist, a neo-Victorian fantasy full of supernatural creatures like Penny Dreadful, a twisty political saga with shades of Game of Thrones, and a Downton Abbey-esque examination of class and racial divides, which, if you're a fan of any or all of these shows, might be the only selling point you need. It's all set against the backdrop of a city called the Burg, where the titular Carnival Row is located. A powder keg on the brink of exploding thanks to increasing hostilities between the local human population and refugee supernatural creatures, including fairies, fauns, and centaurs. The show has plenty of slurs for these fantastical beasts. Fairies are called pix, fauns pucks, and collectively all non-human creatures are called critch. So you'll need to pay close attention in early episodes if you want to have any hope of keeping every species and political affiliation straight. But despite its lofty ideas, the jack-of-all-trades approach ends up undercutting some of Carnival Row's most potent themes. And you may be left wishing the supernatural fantasy series simply picked one lane instead of hogging the entire road. Still, its willingness to experiment sets it apart. As much as it seems reminiscent of many other fantasy projects that have come and gone while it languished in development, there's nothing else like Carnival Row on TV right now. At the heart of the series is a star-crossed romance between a fairy refugee, Cara Delevingne's spectacularly named Vignette Stonemoss, and a Burgish detective, Orlando Bloom's Rycroft Philostrate. The couple has a tumultuous history, but their paths intersect years after their last encounter when Vignette arrives on the Row, where Philo is a local police inspector investigating a string of murders. Delevingne is perfectly cast as the prickly and resilient Fae freedom fighter, and while Bloom isn't given much to do except glower and brood in the early episodes, his role deepens in fascinating ways as the show goes on. Their storyline alone would be enough meat for most shows to chew on, but Carnival Row also throws in a dizzying array of subplots. The season's most engaging and resonant supporting narratives involve a pair of upper-class siblings grappling with the scandalous arrival of a wealthy faun neighbor in their exclusively human enclave. There are also the political machinations of a local chancellor and his family as they struggle to maintain power, plus myriad detours featuring the various Fae and faun factions as they attempt to survive in a city that treats them as second-class citizens. Many of these disparate threads do tie together in clever ways as the show nears its finale, but with so much going on in every episode and no clear through line until the back half of the season, it sometimes feels as if Carnival Row can't decide what it wants to be. The show straddles that line between silly and sublime in its visuals too. The costumes, production design, and makeup effects are stunning, creating a vibrant, tactile world that's teeming with activity and nuance. But when the show relies too heavily on CGI effects, from the Fae's wings to snarling werewolf attacks, things start to look a little rough around the edges. Given how Game of Thrones had to essentially write its direwolves out of the show because it didn't have the budget to do the creatures justice, Carnival Row deserves bonus points just for attempting to bring a whole world full of fantasy creatures to life with such aplomb, even if it sometimes misses the mark. The world building for the series is staggering, even if we don't get all the answers or backstory we might be craving in the 8-episode first season. There's so much history, so many different locations and species to explore, the possibilities for the series feel almost limitless, which is why it's disappointing that Season 1 spends so much narrative real estate on a fairly standard murder mystery plot, even if it's one that features plenty of fantastical flourishes. Ambitious, evocative, and timely, Carnival Row has a lot of big ideas and an even bigger canvas, but by trying to explore too many of them at once, it never quite picks up the narrative momentum to match the bingeable quality of Amazon's most recent hits like The Boys and Fleabag. While it often gets tangled in the weeds even as it's attempting to fly, the layered mythology and complicated character dynamics leave plenty of narrative possibilities for the already ordered Season 2. By then, hopefully, it will have decided what its priorities are. For more streaming reviews, check out what we thought of The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, and Netflix's Cannon Busters. And as always, subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.